a fault line that divides us and that might lead us into a state of disunity and consequently anarchy. So I think everybody must come together and begin to realize that there are so much more that binds us together as a people, and with very little artificial reasons that separates us as a people. We must begin to highlight those things that genuinely we should begin to look at our aspects, our historical aspect, our heritage, the oneness in our heritage as a people. Why we are not so different, and that the differences we have today is actually created by artificial political considerations, really, political expediency. We are more united than we really realize, and we are more united than we actually we realize. We think we are so different, we are not different. So at this point in time, one way I think that we can overcome all of these agitations, be it the separate agitations in the southeast, the agitations for resource control in the south, the agitation for the structuring from the southwest, and all of that, is to begin to look at the Nigerian question, all of these agitations, through the prism of Nigeria, and not ethnic or religious.
Harry Spice, I know that Harry Spice has written a lot, just like you have. Well, what do you think about Nigeria's unity? Is it negotiable or non-negotiable?
You don't negotiate an existence that span over 50 years. Fundamentally, our problem is that we've refused to see ourselves as human beings before tribe. We're identified mostly by our primordial identities. We are more tribal, we're more religious, we're more political than we think we should be human beings. And that's why we're having this problem. I don't see ourselves as disunited. I think we are more united than it is, because we use the same markets, we use the same schools, we use the same currency. The pockets of agitations you see here are actually quest for economic identity, political power, and other social recognition in the society. If you observe that you have more Nigerians who are legitimately involved in their daily earnings than these very few guys who are actually putting fire to the already tense situation that we have, until we begin to see ourselves as human beings first, before the other primordials, we can actually get to where we're supposed to be. The agitation in the country, not just the southeast, for me it's actually needless. You don't challenge a status quo. Nigeria exists, and it will always it will continue to exist even before you and even after you. When you want to make the country very ungovernable, not just for yourself but for others, I think it beholds on every right-thinking member of the society to rise up against these very few elements who are unnecessarily heating up the system.
And the lady in the house, Olive, what is your opinion about Nigeria's unity?
Well, my co-analysts have really spoken on the issue of being more Nigerian. They need to be more Nigerian than tribal. And I think I cannot agree any less.
Okay.
I think the major challenge we as a country face is the divisive politics of the political class. Okay. They've kind of sown a seed of discord amongst Nigerians, that they divide us among ethnic, religious lines, and what have you. And there is really need for us all to come together and work as a country. I personally feel Nigeria is a very great nation. If you look at other countries in the world, you find out there are a whole lot of natural disasters going on, but most of the problems we face are kind of self-imposed. We are the ones who create it for ourselves. So we really need to come together, understand that in our unity there is strength. And there is also a need for us to kind of work together.
Maybe you should put the mic closer to your mouth so it can be a lot clearer.
There is need for us to work together and build the Nigeria of our dreams.
Okay, so wealth, you are the wealth of the nation. What exactly is lacking that we need to bring together and, you know, make ourselves understand the power of our togetherness in this country?
Simply put, I feel it is very critical that Nigerian leaders and Nigerian, as it were, come to the unity of faith and the realization that every citizen is a Nigerian and will have equal rights and stake to the Nigerian project. You see, the agitations in Nigeria and the issues of social tension arising every day, they are a manifestation of social injustice. And justice is a building block in every society. It is a bastion of hope. If any nation must develop the constitution of the people, I tell you, I do tell my friends that when you read the American Constitution, the issue of justice is spelled out as a national philosophy. It says that we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by the Almighty Creator with certain inalienable rights. And among them are rights of justice, peace, and unity. And they said to safeguard this right, the government is given among the people and instituted. In our own state, you see that the Constitution itself unity is assumed. Yes, there is unity, but we are not deliberately making efforts to ensure that this unity is not just seen to be a myth than a reality.
And who is responsible for ensuring that unity?
I mean, the government, because government now is not just the institution. Because when you read our Constitution, it says government is given, and the government is a trustee. The people and the leaders are a trustee of the people. In this place now, the political class needs to be deliberate in terms of policies, in terms of the rule of law. Unity will not be seen to be a reality if there is injustice.
Majid, where do you think the leaders have failed? At what point? If it is the responsibility, because I feel that, you know, based on recent happenings, there are responsibilities on the part of the populace as well. Is it the responsibility of leaders to promote national unity, or the responsibility of the citizens, or both?
The leaders are constitutionally and morally thrust upon them the responsibility of taking deliberate steps, as Mr. Wells pointed out. You see, the word is deliberate here. Deliberate steps to exemplify national unity. All policies, programs, and actions of government, including appointments, including project citing, including government patronage, must reflect our diversity. Everybody must be carried along. No section of the country should feel excluded from the center of action in government. Having said this, it's also very important to point out that the leaders we're talking about are products of the society. Now, that is where the people now come in. The responsibility of the people now in ensuring national unity. And this is what I have to say about the people's responsibility. We have to decide. You see, it cannot be achieved by constitutional amendment. It can be achieved by structuring. It has to be achieved by a self-decision that, look, from today, I, from this social part of the country, have decided that, look, my new identity is Nigeria. It is more profitable for me to be a Nigerian than to be ethnic. We must begin to realize that, look, our backwardness collectively is because we have tended to align our democratic choices along ethno-religious sentiments rather than a pan-Nigerian ideal.
Okay.
We have to make that, it's like a decision. We have to decide. And I'll tell you this, Peter. Most people don't understand that the current ethnic leanings we have today, the current ethnic groupings that we all have found ourselves born into, that we now struggle so hard to protect, we are actually products of backward integration by our colonial masters. How do I mean, sir? It must be understood that, look, before colonialism, there was no such ethnic group as Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo. What you had were micro kingdoms, micro towns, micro chiefdoms that were existing separately until explorers, anthropologists came and said, look, from this point to this point, you are all the same. You are.
Is that good or bad?
Very wonderful. But there was a problem. When the Europeans left, Nigerian anthropologists didn't take it further to continue the integration, to now evolve all of these groups into the Nigerian identity.
The writing community did that. The likes of the older generation of writers. You know, in West Africa, we did have that, right?
But there was a problem. When politics set in, it became politically expedient at that time to now rigidly hold on to the already consolidated ethnic grouping. I'll give you an example. Let me use Southeast as a good example here. Nnamdi Azikiwe, for example, who emerged as the leader of the Southeast region in the First Republic. We also had Awolowo, who emerged as the leader of the Western region, and Ahmadu Bello, who became the leader of the North. And these three identities were so consolidated and almost rigid. They were inorganic. They were centered around certain ethnic groups. But it might interest to know, sir, that look, before this time, Nnamdi Azikiwe, for example, is from a part of Southeast, which is Onitsha, for example, a kingdom that traces its origin to the present-day South region of Benin Kingdom, with maternal links to the present-day Ida Kingdom in north-central Nigeria. You see the convergence. Yet, all ethnic groups around that region agreed to be Igbo, and they became Igbo. What I'm saying, sir, we should have taken that integration further. To say Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, we have decided to be Nigerian, and we will be Nigerian. If you can decide, if the North, for example, with all the different ethnic groups decided to be Northern region, and we are so formidable, so powerful, we can as well have decided that, look, we are Nigerians, and evolve that Nigerian identity. So the lack of forward integration by Nigerian anthropologists is largely responsible today for our disunity. So it's a matter of choice. We are who we decide to be. We can decide to be Nigerians today, and we are Nigerians.
I'm going to go to Harry Spice. Harry Spice, you just came back from the United States under a program of leadership sponsored by the American government. Sure. Give us a comparative analysis of the mental perception of Nigeria in general by the American community, and what you think we need to learn from them or they need to learn from us.
Okay, the American experience is actually at variance with the reality on ground in Nigeria. In that place, I see people united by one common thing: the progress of their country. I hear less of people talking about where they come from. They are more communal in their existence than we are here. People come together in the community to provide social, solutions to problems. I hear less of religious talks. I hear less of political talks. So it's very difficult to begin to compare the two scenarios. And again, it happens where you have a very, less productive population, who are more interested in what the government does or what exists in government than what exists around them. The Dangotes of this world speak not in tribe. The Two-Face Idibia of this world speak not in tribe, but what they can actually bring to the table. If you're productive, I'm very sure you won't have the time to be discussing what divides us instead of what unites us. The only language the world should understand is productivity. What can better humanity? In Nigeria, we talk too much on the ills of the society that we rarely have time to discuss about what can advance the society. There are so many problems, so many things happening in the country. Everybody is talking about it, and very few people are talking about the solution. I don't see Majid different from I see Peter. I don't see Olive different from I see Wet. the only uniting thing that we should be talking about is how great we are or what we can do to make Nigeria better. The American citizen is always out to make America great. That is why you can see an American standing upright to protect the flag of America. Can that happen in Nigeria? Or we talk about...
You know, the funny thing is that some Nigerians think it is a crime to put their flag in front of their house.
In fact, it's so it was so amazing when I went...
Because of the mentality that government officials have created to some extent. Politicians have made it look as if you are the only one that has the right to put the flag in front of your car.
Very wrong, very wrong. While growing up in schools, we were taught civic education and responsibility as citizens. It should be a pride for you to promote the uniqueness of your country. Nigeria is so unique. There are so many things that the world wants to copy from us, but we import or we export the very negative of our realities. As Nigerians, I think it's high time we stop this talk of we are this, we are this, we are this. We should see ourselves first as human beings, first as Nigerian before tribe or religion.
Let's go to our very own female analyst, the only one in the house.
First lady.
Respect you so well, you know, having taken the confidence to join us. But let's quickly ask you, I mean, take a look at South Sudan. We've seen an issue where for over 35 years there's been clamor for a separation and all of that. Now we're seeing the consequence, which is very similar to what we have in Nigeria. Could it be a reason why the government is insisting that Nigeria remains as one? And why is it a peculiar thing to Africa?
Well, I would say why we condemn what is going on in South Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there is need for us to learn from it. The government especially, there has been issues, there has been cases where some section of the country feel they are being sidelined. This is not just the issue of Biafra or Eastern Nigeria. Even in Abuja, we witnessed there has been series of protests by the original inhabitants of the Federal Capital Territory, alleging that the government has really been insensitive to their plight. I think the government should move in quickly and address some of these issues so that we don't see ourselves getting to the place of South Sudan.
Well, South Sudan thought it was wealthy, but now they have the freedom, they don't enjoy the wealth. Let's come back to Nigeria. What exactly could have led to such agitations? What are the principal factors that could have led to any agitation across? Is it leadership? Is it lack of the preaching of one Nigeria, or what exactly?
Well, the challenge with Nigerians' unity, I do tell people, it's a web, it's a chain process. You can't really pinpoint. But I think good governance, or the absence, the lack, the depth of good governance is primarily one of the reasons why we see what we are having today. Because good governance is a unifying factor. And I tell you, what is good governance? It's not a vague term. Good governance, in good governance, you have the rule of law. In good governance, you have constitutionalism. In good governance, you have inclusiveness. In good governance, you have political pluralism, which is the inclusion, the fact that everyone is being given the opportunity to participate in what happens in this country. You know, in a situation whereby everyone has a voice, and the voice is, for me, I do not subscribe to the fact that you say that Nigerians' unity is not negotiable. It should be debated. And in the concept of the debate, it should not be whether to go or not to go, the harmless dilemma. That is a question, to be or not to be. But it should be that let's agree. There are clear indications that our unity is being challenged. It is not concretized. And so what must we do? The leaders across board must come that let's acknowledge this fact that our leaders don't want to acknowledge. For today, we know that, yes, the man from the Niger Delta feel our griefs. And just like we will have it in conflict and security studies, that conflict in every society is foundation upon the issue of what frustration. That's what we call the frustration aggression theory. That there are conflicts in society when people are frustrated. And what is frustration? Frustration is as a result of unmet expectations. And when there are issues of unmet expectations, they are aggrieved. And when you are aggrieved, you tend to attack. attack people. In Nigeria, every sector, whether you go to the southeast, whether you go to the Niger, even in the north, the issues of radicalism in the north are issues of aggression. These people are frustrated, and what else do they do?
Now, this is exactly why I brought up the question, because I wanted to know, is it because some communities are lacking in infrastructure, basic amenities, and stuff like that? If, for instance, the eastern part of Nigeria, for instance, was to have the best roads, best water supply, power supply, Aba was moving in business like better than it is now, do you think there will be any agitation?
There will be no agitation, because really
that is too authoritative. How are you sure?
Okay,
please, Majid. That's a food for thought. I'll come back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. You see, what Wealth is trying to say is very simple, and I'll tell you why what he's saying is what it is now. You talked about infrastructural development, for example, in the southeast, where Aba is made an industrial hub with complete infrastructure to complement its potentials. Would there be agitation? The reason why Aba is not like that today is because people who get to power, who have the capacity and the ability to do that, will not do because they are not from Aba. You see where the issue of Nigerian question comes in. Because we are part of a society where we see ourselves as Aba, Kano, Ijesha, Ijebu. You know, we don't see ourselves as Nigerian. Where I will realize that, look, the people living in Aba are Nigerians resident in Aba. They are not Igbo. Where I will see the Almajiri kids in Kano as not Hausa Fulani kids, but Nigerian kids that deserve to be educated living in Kano.
But the present administration is not responsible for most of these problems. They've existed before now. What we're getting are attempts to make it look as if this current government is responsible, whereas we know that most of these problems have existed over how many years? Count it. I grew up not seeing light in my house.
Those in this government, Peter, have always been part of the ruling class. They have, if I say recycle leadership in this country, so they are not completely exonerated, while they are not being completely blamed for it. This is a holistic issue now. Look, it pays Nigeria more, for example, if we think in terms of Nigeria. I'll give you a typical example. When the PIB bill came to the National Assembly, and there was a provision for 10% of oil, is it compensation or something to the oil producing communities, there was this 10% clause. It was opposed by a section of the country. You know why? They felt that 10% was going to go to the Ogoni, Ijo, and Shekiri community. If they had realized that that 10% was going to fellow Nigerians being affected by environmental pollution, whose livelihood has been restricted because of oil exploration activities, they would not have opposed it. But they felt no, oppose so that I will get more from my own section. But if we are seeing ourselves as one, we will not oppose any of this. We will see it as, yes, they are Nigerians, they are my kith and kin, they are my blood, so they deserve that money. This person from the Nigerian Tasu will say that, look, why not vote more money for education in the north to bring them to par with the rest of the country, because they are my brothers, they are my kith and kin. So we need this Nigerian thinking, and the best way to kickstart this pan-Nigerian culture is from the leadership, because they must demonstrate that, look, as leaders, I've been able to look beyond my ethnicity and my religious group and do certain things that is outside for the sake of Nigeria. And that brings me to the question of what we discussed yesterday. One, Nigeria must begin to exist more for economic reasons than political reasons. What I mean is this: when citing project, it should be the economics of the project that should matter, and not the politics of it. And this can only be achieved if Nigerians too begin to align their democratic choices with their personal business interest for pragmatic economic reasons only. Only then will those in power realize that the reason I was elected is to bring about economic development. And if you tune to that mode of economic development, you realize that you have no choice but to be like the first world country of the United States of America and the UK, where nationality, citizenship is key over indigenship.
When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at Nigeria in its 50s compared to countries that have had to struggle beyond 100 years and still made it. Why is Nigeria thinking we're backward and not willing to stay united? Stay with 101.1 FM, Human Rights Radio. When we return, we'll take more of your calls. Well, we've not taken any yet, but when we come back, we'll take your calls. And we hear from you, the people who deserve to stay together. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
We declare that human rights are for all of us, all the time, wherever we are and wherever we are from. This is a matter of individual justice, social stability, and global progress. The United Nations protects human rights because that is our proud mission, and because when people enjoy their rights, economies flourish and countries are at peace. Violations of human rights are more than personal tragedies. They are alarm bells that may warn of a much bigger crisis. The UN's Human Rights Upfront Initiative aims to heed those alarms. We are rallying in response to violations before they degenerate into mass atrocities or war crimes. Everyone can advance the struggle against injustice, intolerance, and extremism. I call on states to honor their obligations to protect human rights every day of the year. I call on people to hold their governments to account. And I call for special protections for the human rights defenders who courageously serve our collective cause. Let us respond to the cries of the exploited and uphold the right to human dignity for all.
Human Rights Radio.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
You know.
Give me 101.1 effort.
It is Leka, Pulchritudinous, Splendiferous, and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to be here. Before I explode from the grandiloquence and the circumambiguous magniloquence of my academic and intellectual reservoir, let me say, life is fluxinausinihilipilificating without human rights. And life is honorificabilitudinitatibus when you know your fundamental human rights. I am the man with the taxonomic nomenclature appellation, Father the Grammarian. I am here in Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM Abuja. My people, what did I try talk be say? It good make we know our human rights and make we respect them. Now me be Father the Grammarian at the Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM Abuja. No change the dialogue.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying tuned into Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. We are live on Facebook on our 247 television. It's the first and only in the world. You will certainly get to watch the presenter and the analyst in the studio. Harris Spice, you're still welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Your mic is off. We need the mics to be on. Okay, good. So our Spice is in the building. We also have our very own Majid. He's silent. He doesn't want to talk for now. Olive is in the building, the only lady in the house. Say hello to Nigerians now.
Hello.
And then we also have, I call him Ibn Abo, but he doesn't like it, so I'll call him Wealth, the wealth of the nation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You can download our app on iOS and Android. You can listen wherever you are across the world. We're talking about Nigeria's unity. Before we went for the break, I think at some point you were trying to talk about how negotiable Nigeria's unity is. Harris Spice.
Yeah, I was actually trying to counter words call for negotiating our existence. You know, one thing with us is that we like to put the cart before the horse. We've forgotten that we are a sovereign nation. We have elected representative at the National Assembly, both the upper and the lower house. So when we hear people talking about negotiating, what are you negotiating? Is it that Nigeria should, should cease to be, or there should be an extended provision into our constitution? You elected these people to represent.
I think I want to interject you a little. When you talk about institutions, the people are the ones who have the sovereignty. I think
that is why we have the elections.
Excuse me for a second.
Periodically, people are elected into offices, and you represented it. All of us cannot be speaking for Nigeria.
Excuse me for a second.
Let me land. All of us cannot be speaking for Nigeria. It's why we have a provision in the constitution, and there must be election. Who are those to be elected? From the people, not from the government, not from alien, not from
when you talk
outside the country. We're talking of Nigerians.
Excuse me. When you talk
to the
about
National Assembly as our representative, what do? They speak on our behalf, and these guys come back to the constituency and also interact with the people. So are you saying that we do not need these guys
I need to interject and correct this impression,
the National
please,
Assembly anymore to speak for us? Is that what you're saying?
I need to correct the impression.
Okay.
The concept of sovereignty is defined by the people. Now, government, it functions by the dictates of the people. In a situation whereby government has refused to align to the willings and dictates of the people have the right to tell you, let's renegotiate, let's debate. In the discourse here, we are not talking about dismembership, but we are talking about, let's face the reality that there are current challenges in Nigeria. You cannot tell me to go to the National Assembly, who has already foreclosed doors of debating our problems. A government who has already said, no, the members of National Assembly who says devolution of power is a no-go area. That is not a government that functions in line with the people. Now, the people need to come themselves and define what sovereignty is.
But the people are represented by the legislature.
The people are represented by the legislatures. Now, the people again want to also redefine themselves, need to give themselves a constitution, need to give themselves what government should be. Now, not government will tell the people what government should be, but the people now who spell out how government should be governed and what government should function.
Majid is itchy to talk. No, I'm sure Olive will join you soon as well.
Well, I think the positions both my compatriots here are taking.
Don't forget, tie this to national unity, because that's the topic. We want to understand the crux of the problem. Is it the leadership or the membership? Well, in this case, the citizens.
I keep saying I think it's both. We have to take it collectively and look at the situation holistically. A lot of people have advocated for a return to the 1963 constitution, regionalism, what they describe as true federalism, where the regions control resources. But people have failed to also ask, why didn't that work? Why did it collapse? And Nigerians collectively looked away from that model until 1999. In 1979, we opted for presidential system with weakened states and a stronger center. In 1988, we did the same. In 1999, we did the same. That was the reason. We have simply refused to make any system work. In 1963, we didn't make it work. Peter, the ruling party then, the party with the majority that formed the government, that produced the prime minister, who was the head of government's business, was called NPC, Northern People's Congress. Even when it formed the government and led the government, there was no attempt to give that political platform a national outlook.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand.
So from the branding process, started that separation.
You had an AG that was purely formed out of a cultural group called Egbe Omo Oduduwa. It was simply Yoruba. Then you had an NCNC that actually had the national outlook, but was now forced to beat a fast retreat to the southeast. And that triggered, because Professor Eoita, who was the premier of the eastern region, from the minority area of the eastern region then, was shoved aside for a majority ethnic Igbo to become premier, to balance the three major ethnic groups. And what happened? That immediately triggered the agitation for core states, for state creation. That was how state creation agitation started. That look, minorities said we cannot exist on that region because the big ethnic groups dominate us, so we want our states. So there was a movement for Cross River, Ogoja, and River State creation. Why? Because again, the regions were too rigid. The political parties were too rigid around ethno-religious lines. Now, they bring to the issue of integration and assimilation. Any country, any federation, any nation that does not have a systematic way of integrating and assimilating its diverse populace into any geographic space within that sovereign entity that they so wish to domicile will have the problem we're having today. That you are born ethnic Igbo does not foreclose the opportunity of you living and being integrated into Kano and become politically and economically, that you can rise to any level just because you are a Nigerian. So the First Republic Constitution gave rise to a conflict between citizenship and indigenship. Indigenous of other regions found their livelihood being limited within the same, within the same sovereign entity, but because you are now residing in a region other than your region of origin, your citizenship right is curtailed. That was not resolved, and it's still not resolved till today. We need to begin to take these things seriously. Assimilation and integration. Today, Aba is a hub of textile and shoemaking industries. Aba does not have to be populated only by ethnic Igbo. Any Nigerian who has the skill in shoemaking should simply move to Aba and make that place your home, because they already have the reputation, they have the market already. If you are a Nigerian citizen, go and take advantage. It should be allowed. And if you so desire to now become politically integrated, so be it. You shouldn't be restricted. We have to make this decision fundamentally. If we do not, we will keep talking about the same issue over and over again.
Olive, is this the time to, give the olive branch? Because I mean that's what we use for peace.
I've been waving that branch since morning. Yeah.
All right, tell us about the branch.
For me at the moment, I want to react to what Mr. Majid said earlier about the need for politicians to go out of their way to set up projects in regions other than where they come from. I think that is quite commendable, but I will also say that we really need to work collectively to see to the realization of this. By we, I mean both the politicians and the masses. Because you find out that there are times when politicians try to do this and the masses react negatively to it. Let's give an example of the immediate past president, Goodluck Jonathan. I think on the issue of education which he raised, he in a way tried to bring the North at par with the other regions of the country by trying to set up Almajiri schools. But then you find out that during elections,
under that same government, we had a lot of insecurity in the Northeast.
That could also be a solution to it, because when you get these youth engaged, I don't think they will have time to think of doing those stuffs. Now, when he did that during election, we all found out that some people from the Southwest came up with this the question of what the president did for them and what the president did not do. Even from his own state, not just his region now, there are still people who came out to say he did little or nothing for the states there. I think we really all need to see ourselves as Nigerians and work in a way and support these politicians to make Nigeria better.
All right. Well, okay. Let me let her spice it up a bit.
Yes, I think we are still saying the same thing. Yeah? We're dissipating energy on what will not move us anywhere. The world is edging towards a global village, and in Nigeria, we're still talking about regional identity. I'm not from the north, I'm not from the west, I'm from Nigeria, somebody will say. I can fit in any part of the world. The problem we have is that we've refused to hold our leaders accountable. At the state level, at the local government level, we have government representative. We have allocation that goes to these places every month or quarterly. What do we do with these allocations? Nobody asks questions. The only thing we talk about is what is the center doing? What is the center
Excuse me,
doing?
when you talk about national unity,
yes,
I do agree. To keep Nigerian one is a tax that must be done. I subscribe. Yes. But it must be done within the confines of justice. Someone did say that we must not be afraid of negotiating, and we must not also negotiate out of fear.
The point is, what are you negotiating? We like to bandy words around. What are we negotiating? Is it
they are genuine issues.
Are we not living in?
They are genuine issues of concern.
We're talking about unity in Nigeria. Let's start the unity from within the studio.
Yes.
What is the unity we're talking about?
The fact is, let's be united on this thing that we acknowledge that Nigeria as it is today, there are issues that must be addressed, which borders on justice. Justice is the first cornerstone, is the chief cornerstone.
Beyond
the chief cornerstone of a nation.
My brother, what is that injustice we're talking about? Let's begin to isolate
the issue of social injustice. When government is not responsible to the plights and yearnings of the people, you agree with me that in Nigeria there is a state of government among people. You provide your water for yourself, you provide electricity, you provide. So people begin to wonder, why should I be patriotic when government is not responsible?
We're saying the same thing.
We are saying the same thing.
Are we saying that the central government is not making allocation?
Not just the central government, even state governments.
Yes. All right. I'm going to cut you off now. Let's take a call. We have callers calling. You can call us up on 08. You push, you say, no. Okay, so 08189991011. We have our first caller. Please, profanities and abusive words are not acceptable on Human Rights Radio. And remember, we are an equal opportunity radio station. Hello.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. What's your name and where you're calling from? Quickly, please.
My name is Ifan. I'm calling from Buhari.
It's good to have you, Ifan. Go ahead with your submission.
Right. The only thing I have to say this morning is it is high time to stop looking at the damage HPC and agitations has caused this country and begin to look forward to providing solutions to this situation.
Sure.
And I will not fail to recognize the part played by the central government on this situation. Because truth is, according to Justice Goodbefore Oputa, results from when each man gives to his neighbor, that it is peace. And government gives to each citizen, that it is their peace. And all mankind gives glory to God on this. So when you analyze this statement by a veteran justice of the federation, you will see that the government has failed in some aspects by way of marginalizing some parts of this country, resulting from every person clamoring for independence and all that. You see that even in a family setting, anytime you begin to treat a girl with you so badly, you begin to ask questions, is this really my home? Do I belong here? So I think government should give this equal justice to Nigerians. Let us feel wrong. And all these accusations, I think, would have been a thing of the past.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very inspiring. Let's get the next call before we start wrapping off the show. 081. Okay, let me just go straight to the call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Esther. I'm calling from Buhari.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think our leaders need to speak up us too, because if you take the last election, we had about 15 million that voted for APC and about 12 million voted for PDP. Out of 180 million Nigerians, that does not give them the yardstick to think they have all the support of all Nigerians. They must be able to bring all Nigerians together to the table and begin to look for a possible solution, how to get them to their stand and move Nigerians forward.
Thank you so much, and that was very straight to the point. Final comments, Harry Spice?
Okay, thank you very much. Just like I've been talking about, I think we should begin to see ourselves more humans first before we are religious, ethnic, or whatever. A human being is a human being anywhere, whether in South Africa, in South Sudan, or in Nigeria. Until we come together to think of solutions to our problems, we are where we are.
Majid?
And in seeing ourselves as one, as Harry Spice, correctly said, we must begin to take interest in the plight of people that are not even from our own ethnic groups or our region. We need to look closely into the plight of people because they are all Nigerians. We should look at it as a Nigerian problem from anywhere, from any part of the country.
Thank you. The lady in the house, Olive?
My parting shot will be to the government. Let's look inward. Look at various regions, see their strengths, and see how we can harness the talents of the youth there, so that we can actually build a new Nigeria where everyone will see himself as first a Nigerian and before the ethnic group comes up. Thank you.
And Wealth?
To keep Nigerian one is a task that must be done, but this is only possible if justice and social governance, justice, equality is manifested in all spheres of our society.
And I think that our parents naturally thought it would be a one Nigeria when they gave us our various names. Take a look at Harry Spice. It's not any Nigerian local name. Olive is actually a very powerful name. It's not a Nigerian name. Majid is also not a Nigerian name. Wealth is an English name. I'm the only one with a Hebrew name. That makes okay. Oh, all right, so we're still one Nigeria, 5 of us in 6 regions. We hope that we'll have more time to talk about unity in Nigeria, but we love ourselves. Remember, the kola nut is actually manufactured. That's what I use. I don't say produced, I say manufactured. It's actually manufactured in the West. It is valued in the East and largely consumed in the North.
Yep.
Stay as one Nigeria. This is Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Have a great day ahead. The news comes to you at 12 noon, and we'll have a great day together. Have a great time. Bye-bye.